Welcome everyone. Aesthetic Impact Informational Services LLC. I'm recently told I need to start including that to be according to Hoyle. Presents remote viewing practice discussion target 101006. I'm Teresa Frisch, and I am providing the discussion environment and the practice targets provided by Lynn Buchanan, who will hopefully be joining us soon. And until then, I did want to review, for anybody who might be downloading this or learning from the net at some point, just very quickly, the 4 modes of controlled remote viewing. And there are 4 basic modes to control remote viewing. These modes are defined by purpose or group of sessions that they serve. And I don't necessarily want to read these verbatim. This can be found on Lynn's website in the terminology part, and they are really very helpful insofar as each thing that you're doing, whether it's research or training or practice or operations, has its own set of rules and parameters. There we go. And again, you can find these for yourselves on Lynn's website, www.crviewer.com, which I had thought I had put that in here. Research, for instance, the research mode is always done blind. There is never any front loading. The monitor is never allowed to interact physically with the viewer and or his transcript. Training we don't see very much because you need an actual monitor who is reaching across and possibly invading your personal space and steering you as the viewer just a little bit. You, the viewer, are in charge of your session as always, but in that environment where you have a monitor training you, they are allowed to reach over and point things out. Now, practice is what most of us are familiar with. And in that mode, we working numerous targets, learning front loading, learning how to work with AOLs, stray cats, learning structure. And if there is a monitor, working with them, but the monitor is not allowed to steer the viewer in any way. They're allowed to cue the viewer using the cue modes and move commands, especially if the viewer gets stuck. And eventually, and it says here the monitor is a luxury for most of us. Eventually the monitor and the viewer both work blind. And then in operations, which I want to clarify that operations mode does not mean something as far as, intelligence gathering or secret or anything like. Operations merely means applications. And after the viewer becomes proficient and moves slowly from practice to operations mode, does not mean that the viewer does not need to ever practice again. You need to keep your skill level up, and the target is almost always an unknown. In practice mode, you're depending on the feedback so that you learn to view and become confident in your skill level and in the 2 minds working together on a task. Before you move to operations mode, you have to be an established viewer with a track record. Hopefully by this day and age, you're assembling a portfolio, and you will be moving into a realm where there isn't always necessarily feedback provided, and if you get it, it may be delayed or not at all. And so that's why you need to train to the point where you don't depend on your feedback. You also need to train to the point that you are a professional, that you behave in a professional manner. You realize that there's client and customer confidentiality. You realize that you need to turn your sessions in a professional format, in a standardized reporting format, so that the analyst and the project manager is not redoing your work and it really becomes very cumbersome. So these are things that when you're in operations mode and working at a professional level, you need to keep in mind. Now, I would like to share, I think it is, Deborah has to go teach class. So it's why we usually let her go first. I would like to share the summary of a viewer who is a professional viewer, works operations. This viewer does not want his, I just said his, viewer number or name known. And that is something that Lynn has always taught us as students, that you sanitize a session and no identifiers are provided in an actual project report to maintain viewer anonymity. Viewers are never put in direct contact with the customer because the pollution rate is just horrible. Viewers should always work through a project manager if at all possible. And this viewer, we haven't put the feedback up yet, but the target is an event. This viewer wanted to be front-loaded. Front-loading helps you focus on your work. It helps you not wink about the site and waste energy and waste time. So this is an advanced level viewer. Target is an event involving a man-made. Describe the man-made or the event. Give details about the event and its purpose. This target was provided by Lynn. It is on his website. And when you drop down, you can see the tasking, so anybody who wanted to practice could see this front-loading. And you'll keep in mind that this front-loading does not give any information about the target itself. There are zillions of man-mades in the world, and there are zillions of events in the world. So all you're doing is, when you're giving yourself those coordinates, the minute you get one from man-made, you don't have to take coordinates again if you do not want to. You also can stop as soon as you got something that would tell you you had an event going. As long as you've got enough coordinates that you know you have good site contact. All right, and this is his summary. Man-made, the target has elements of man-made motion, male, bios, mechanical machine, man-made inverted land. There appears to be a back and forth motion as if lines are being strung or moved through the air through momentum. Motion appears to be moving left to right skyward. The speed is visible to the human eye. Man-made, there appears to be a man-made object to the right, square in shape, ground level. The man-made appears to position to the left, has tall-like poles in a vertical position, multiple poles with various heights, varied heights. Appears to be a support structure. Appears to be partially embedded in ground or water. Different man-made structures seem intertwined to create an arena-like edifice. The bios, multiples, appear to be moving north to south, appear to be looking to left as if in parade formation, appear to be dressed in like fashion, appear to be observing with interest to the coming event as if they were waiting for a show to begin. Male appears to be a figurehead. Event appears to be parade-like or a show of some sorts. Ambiance is one of expectation. There is an air of excitement. All eyes are focused on the man-made structure. Other things found. There is a cylinder-shaped object there. So let me see which one of these uploaded things up here. Hopefully I have feedback. I have to read all of them. I usually try and put it up first. And please don't tell me I have everything with feedback up here, because I thought I had it all. Yep, there we go. It was first. Duh. All right, so the target is the moving of the Emmaus Church of Hursdorf, Germany. And I don't speak German. So we'll see how well things appear to be going. I don't really want to read all of that. Well, just want to jump around whether I want it to or not. And I really have not had time to review any of this as far as fine tune or so if any of you want to offer up comments as I'm scrolling down through here and trying to run this. But yes, I'm sure it was a huge production and a show. And as far as the directionals, I'm sure we could research that, but we're not going to do that tonight. Anybody who really wants to do that, whether it's north, south, east, west, it'll take some digging, but it's not that necessary. And I'm not sure about the girder statement. The way that rig is set up, it might have some support underneath it that would possibly seem like girders, and I'm not trying to waffle. I'm looking at these red lines in between the tires. But remembering that every viewer will pick up different facets of the site, and that's why we work in teams, because you don't want all the same type of viewers on your team preferably. And so, all right, let me find Deborah's session. And Deborah, I am so sorry. If I need to go find more of it, let me know, because I know you sent me a second. You said you played with it. You sent a second something, and I probably need to go look for it. Let's get okay, your mic's off. Go ahead. Do I need to go find your session again? Because this is all I saw really quick, and I bet it's there if I just have to look for it.
Let's see.
Because I know you sent a second and said use this.
Yeah, I think this is it, because I didn't have the building in the first one, and then I included that in here.
Okay, so this is your session summary?
Yes.
Excellent. All right, natural, man-made, biological, human, and animals. So you practicing writing outline summaries?
Yes.
Hey, looking pretty good. And I'm just used to seeing these giant sessions from you. I feel like granted, this would be, you know, the end product. I just feel like we're missing out here. Why don't you tell us about your session? This is what you chose to keep in your summary.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, these, you know, I did this session different. I didn't start off with ideograms. I really did this just line in bed, seeing what I would pick up.
That's right. You said you were doing an ERV session.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really, I mean, I'm calling it that, but really I just laid in bed and just saw what images came. I had an immediate EI of being like up high attached to the side of something. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, I think I was on a AOL drive a bit about being like on the side of a cliff or something. Mm-hmm. I'd say I have like a big sense of a hole in the ground, and I really felt like there was some kind of big hole in the ground.
Okay.
But I did.
After they moved the building, there might have been a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
We could research that. Probably had a basement, but I can't swear to it.
Yeah, the word basin came up very strongly. It's not usually a word I use. Mm-hmm. And then I did get a building later.
And so ERB, as I said, I've never done that. You had to write this all and record it after you did it. Is that correct?
Yes.
How did you find that? Difficult, easy? What did you think?
Well, you know, it was really kind of a combination. Once I wrote it down, I think I remembered most of it, but while I was doing it, I was anxious I would forget, and I thought if I'm going to do it like this again, I would really want to have a tape recorder, and then I could just relax, because it really is too much, I think, to just remember it all. And I think still, even, I don't know, I'm not sure if I like doing it this way or not, because I think I still was caught up in some AOLs. I'm just kind of experimenting, going back and forth with these things. You know,
I think you made it in. Deborah has to go teach class, and she's experimenting with an ERV session, and this was her summary. So anyway, I know you just barely got here. If you want to jump in and make any comments, feel free. You guys can go ahead and talk.
Well, no, you go ahead, and I'll just I'll look and listen.
Okay. Yeah, I've never done an ERV session, so I was kind of asking Deborah what she thought, if it was really hard, because you get a lot of data in a session, and I was wondering if it was really hard to remember it, to write it down after.
Yeah, I think I only really was kind of viewing for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then I went and started to write it all down, and then I started to get more impressions. But, I mean, you could see I didn't take as long. If you look at my session after this summary, I didn't take as long as this. I didn't take as long with this session as I have other sessions too. So,
according to this, you were 5:15 to 6:45, hour and a half.
No, that's not very long.
6:54 rather. Okay.
You know, I just feel like there's always so much to describe, and that's like the question I always have is, well, I don't really know when I'm done, because I don't know if I've described what I even need to be describing.
Is that every session or just this one?
That's every session. I kind of
the one more page syndrome.
I mean, do you have any advice about that? Because especially if there's no front loading, and I don't know what, you know, I just don't know if I've described enough. I don't know if I've described the right thing.
Yeah, we always provide neutral front loading with each one of these targets. But if you're feeling lost, like you don't know what the target is, learn to enjoy that. One of the things you'll find is that once you decide you know what the target is, you're probably off in la la land. What you're after is descriptors. And as long as you're getting descriptors, then you know you're doing well. But once you say, if you were to say, oh, this is a church, from that point on, every ideological thing that you have about a church would work its way into your session. And so I know it's hard to do, but the feeling of being lost generally means that you're doing a good job in your own target.
I only put up a couple of targets that are not limbs, and I just started announcing if anybody wants front loading. Deborah, if you're used to working with front loading and it's better for you, I can give you front loading. Or when you can always just, you know, give yourself, if you wanted, you know, the target is a target, be the target, or describe the target, or
well,
we can give you front loading.
On all of these that we put up, if she gives you the target number, and it's the target of the week, you can go to that page, click on that, and it doesn't show you the target. It just it has one front loading. 2, it has a notice if there is any emotional content to the target, and then it has a button to click for a feedback, and then another button to click for a feedback for a dowsing map. So when you click on the number of the target of the week, it doesn't show you anything at all about the target. And if you want the front loading, just click on the button that says front loading, and it'll give you totally neutral front loading, like it's an event, it's an activity, it's a location, or anything like that. But it never tells you anything about the target.
Okay, cool.
So we try to keep it safe for everybody.
Keep everybody busy.
Yeah.
I did just see I-beams on we reviewed one student who didn't want their name or viewer number on tape.
That's cool.
Sent the summary in. I'm sorry, Lynn, what?
I see, that's cool, no problem.
Yeah, and anyway, I was just scrolling down through here because I really hadn't had a chance to look at I-beams.
Yeah, the whole thing is resting on I-beams.
Uh-huh. So anyway, Deborah, did you have anything else you wanted to bring up?
Not really. I think I was kind of on another AOL drive really at the beginning of this.
Okay.
So I need to watch that.
All right. Let me make this one go away. And there we go. And Lynn, I reviewed the 4 modes for everybody when we first got here. Thought it might be helpful. All right, now, there we go. Here's our next session. There's Deborah's. So I'm just trying to make these go away. A little less cluttered up there. Okay, here's Jed's. We'll go ahead and find him and take, oh good, his mic's off. Very good. All right, Jed, do you want to talk to us about your session while I scroll down through it? We have 12 pages, and Jed is a basic student. Whoop. This thing is really loud tonight. All right. Jed, the floor is yours. Do you have any comment?
Well, I made a few couple errors there. I did have a word, I think it's maybe down in the summary, that I could not figure out what it was. I tried my best to spell it as it was. Yeah, it's getting close to the page there. Let's see. I got to scroll down. Or maybe, was it in the summary or, oh, wait a minute.
Target has aspects of land, man-made, and biological. Land has aspects of, looks like fine.
Yeah, fine. Had a lot of...
Wicked.
Where is that?
The wickedness,
yeah.
I sent an email.
You were explaining that in an email. What does wickedness mean to you?
Oh, fine.
I found out this was a Lutheran church after I did the remote viewing, and I had been in a Lutheran parochial school when I was young, and we had a very stern disciplinarian principal who liked to smack us kids around, particularly my brother. Our parents pulled us out of the school, and eventually the church, due to a big brouhaha with the between some of the elders and the principal and minister, and left a bitter tongue in the family.
So that was an association for you.
Yeah.
Now here's an interesting word. What do you think bros might be?
I had difficulty spelling a couple simple words. It's supposed to be bronze. And I just couldn't spell. There's another word that begins with an S somewhere. I'm not sure which page it was on.
As a general rule, when you're spelling and your handwriting just really go down the toity, that's a good sign. It shows that your subconscious is in charge of the session, because it can't spell and it can't do handwriting worth a darn. And it's just an indicator that you're doing really well.
Okay. Maybe it's, I don't see the word here.
Sorry.
Is there another page or?
Probably, yeah. I noticed you're getting a lot of people sounds.
Yeah, they're on page
Yelling,
10.
clapping.
They're on page 10, where it says sweet yellow tender and then food, corn, farming. Did you gain those food, corn, and farming from sweet yellow and tender, or are they perceptions in their own right?
I believe the food part was from the yellow and tender.
Okay.
I live on a farm and I grew up on a farm.
Yeah.
And we raised corn in that, so.
Oh, then those would be good stray cats, yeah. If those were actual perceptions in their own right, they would go over to the other side, and farming would be a conceptual, which would signal, you know, like you're ready to go in, part of your mind is ready to go into stage 4.
So these are coming in during your summary writing, is that right, Jed?
This is correct. The word commercial came in, and I put that down not over on the stray cat side. It seemed to be, there was a distinction difference in the way it appeared and it came up in my mind.
Yeah.
And that's why I wrote it.
And of course, these are commercial movers, yeah. It is very large and encompassing, yeah.
Okay, making sure there wasn't anything. Is there anything in your actual session? Well, there's your data sheet. Okay.
Yeah, good. 31.
I'm still unsure of my perceptions, how to categorize some of them. Some colors and things like that is easy, but when it comes to ambivalence and a few other things, I have a tendency to maybe shove them in a spot that I'm not quite sure of. I might put them into like meanings where they maybe should be under ambivalence or purpose or relationship. So I'm still working on getting that squared away.
Well, actually, everybody has trouble with that. When we first started out with this thing, it had 85 different categories, and nobody was going to fill it in. I mean, it was too much. So we just narrowed it down into a handleable amount and put other on it. And so, like, texture. Is that the feel of something, or is that the texture of a surface as you see light bouncing off of it, or is that the texture of a taste in your mouth, or, you know, and so a lot of these are just sort of vague, and what we found is that over time and over many, many sessions, it doesn't matter that much, because it will still give a profile, and a track record of the work that you do. It'll still show your strengths and weaknesses. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. I mean, it's good to want to do it right, but I wouldn't get really worried about it if I were you.
Okay. Glad to hear that.
Sorry. I was just going to ask, why do we have both conceptuals and purpose? To me, that's the same thing. Maybe, obviously, I don't have a good handle on that.
Because conceptuals carry a whole lot wider range than just purpose.
Okay. Gotcha.
Now, the word commercial, would that be, where would you have put that under?
I would have probably put that under conceptual.
Okay, that's
The
good.
purpose for this move was not commercial.
Okay.
However, it is a commercial endeavor to move the church. And here again, that shows the difference between purpose and, conceptual. Purpose is a conceptual. So we could have actually done away with purpose, but we couldn't have done away with conceptuals.
Okay.
Jed, anything else you wanted to point out? I know we didn't go through the body of your session for the most part. But...
Oh, I structured getting to the summary. But no, I thought I did. I enjoyed that. It was very, I enjoyed that target.
Good.
It's a neat target, isn't it?
The thing is, I came up with a word out of my subconscious that reflected my feelings currently, probably, which is interesting. It shows a subconscious bias by the word wickedness.
Is your brother's name Charlie?
No, it's an uncle of mine who I think haunts the place. I come up with Charlie on many, many sessions, I heard. I don't know why that is.
You think your structure's coming along?
Oh, there's the word there.
Mm-hmm.
The word I could not spell, I crossed it out and printed it. I have no idea what it's...
What is it, Shorcity?
Yeah, it's pronounced like, that's the way I wrote it, but it didn't really fit the way it sounded in my mind at the time, and I couldn't quite spell it. And I didn't want to stick on it, so I kept moving on.
I dread the day that somebody gets words in another language, and it's like, okay, that's what, because Lynn knows languages, and
yeah, and this is German. I was wondering if anybody was going to get German words in this.
Well, Schwartz. What do you mean, derivative Schwartzy? I don't know.
No, Schwartz is the German word for black.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And I don't even like to think about interpreting, a different culture, somebody in the Orient, viewing this target, different cultures and regions, things mean different things to different people.
Yeah.
Like, oh, my.
Now, in the AI here, I put hostile country. Would that be picking up maybe the old Nazi World War II, or I'm part German, and this is what.
Yeah, it could be.
Okay.
You say part German. What's the other part?
English and Swedish.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Shouldn't be a problem there. If you were going to say Polish, I would have said, yeah, that's maybe a problem.
I was just looking for a sketch.
Oh, yeah, it should be on page 5.
Okay. Aha.
So you get building, yep, red.
Okay. Anything else you wanted to bring up, Jed?
No, unless there's any, you or Len have any comments.
It looks good. I mean, it looks like you were on target the whole way, and that's really the thing. And it looks like, from just looking through the target here, it looks like you went through and dropped out the things that were not pertinent, which is part of the summary writing process. So, looks good.
Thank you.
Okay. Now let's see. See who else is in here. That's feedback. Track that. David's not here, so let's see. Chance that will allow her to be with us, but she keeps working the target. So this is Russ's, and again, Russ is learning from home, and oh Lord, we've got some messages to Deborah. Deborah just said she thinks she might have gone to the wrong target because she had the word Mono Lake come up. So now she's wondering if she actually went to a different site. So Russ is learning at home and comes and already he's learning to, he gets the most packed sketches. I mean, you can't, there is hardly any visible white space on the page. But he's learning to at least sort out and report what he's getting. He tells me in emails that his chicken scratches, make sense to him, but he's not sure that he can ever, get them into a format that makes sense to others. But I mean, he's doing a lot better. And he's learning how to, and I'll be watching for him to type in comments. He does do some things that I'm not familiar with as far as CRV. He describes dimensional archetypes. And one of these days I'm going to introduce him to the scoring sheet. We're getting there. And then here are his sketches. Oops, darn it. There are two. And he probes them for information. Now, I don't know if this tall structure is on site anywhere or not. I haven't seen it. And without a score sheet, I don't know really how to comment as far as Russ's site contact. And I don't see any comments from him yet. But I think as far as a viewer learning, the purpose of working a target, as Lynn reminds us, is not to learn about the target, it's to learn about yourself. And I think from what Russ started out doing maybe 6 weeks ago, this is a big change and improvement in reporting structure. And he's writing in, the house is tiny on lower pick, tower got enlarged a bit by the subconscious. I gotcha. And Lynn, do you want to talk about the subconscious making things larger and smaller?
Yeah, your subconscious will just naturally expand anything it thinks is important to the site, and it will shrink anything that it thinks is not important to the site. Look at the bottom sketch here. He's got a very tall building. Well, you know, and looks like it's on some kind of rocky ground or something like that. But for him, the steeple may be more important than the church.
Mm-hmm.
And so many times on sketches and on other impressions that you get, you may find out more about the viewer from the session than you do about the target, or as much at least. Find out what's important to them and all that.
You've got metal girders.
Well, yeah, they're certainly there.
Yeah, there's I-beams.
Yeah.
Galore, and you know, I'm looking at this little sketch off to the right here.
Mm-hmm.
And
you
those
know,
wheels.
When you get into operational work, the ultimate thing is the summary.
Mm-hmm.
What's in your summary? Like police, you give them 100 perceptions in your summary. Okay, they probably already know at least 50% of those things. Or they can judge 50% by what they already know. The rest, they really don't care, you know, about how detailed it is or anything like that until they can determine whether it's right or not. What they want to know is, if this viewer tells me something, can I depend on it being right? And so when you get into operations, the the track record and the summary are really what becomes important. Now, for training, for practice, and even into operations, the purpose of a practice target is really to learn more about yourself. It's good when you get good information, but you know, the main purpose, way down deep, is to establish a track record of trust between you and your subconscious mind.
And he's got a little note here. Drew across mid-right edge in part 2. And Deborah said that's really helpful to hear that how we sometimes make things bigger that are important to us, so she'd never heard that before.
Yeah, it's called rubber banding. And like when you're doing maps and timelines and all that in stage 6 work, you will tend on a timeline or on a map to expand that part of the timeline or the map which is of the most importance and shrink that part which isn't. And so even on a timeline, when somebody makes an X on a timeline, you can't always depend that it's right there at a specific date on that timeline if you're looking at the timeline linearly. This is one of the things that analysts have to learn when they do analysis work on CRV sessions.
As I just scrolled through this just now, I was wondering, Lynn, can you comment on whether or not lined or plain paper is better? And actually, I see Russ is working from a notebook with pages of data underneath his session. So, you know, probably he's got a notebook of targets that he's been working. Does that make a difference?
Ingo says it makes a difference whether you use lined paper or not. Ingo also says you cannot remote view if you need to go to the bathroom. Believe me, with generals sitting out in the hallway, tapping their foot and looking at their watch, you can remote view when you need to go to the bathroom. Basically, what we found is that whatever limits you put onto your own remote viewing, those are the limits you'll have to work in. If you don't put those limits on, then you're going to ignore the limits and just do it.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Russ. And I'm going to go on and let's see. There's the feedback. We're down to Dave Beatty and Debbie Height. Okay. Neither one of those folks are here, but we can take a look at their session. And they're probably going to be tuning in later. Darn it. There we go. Here is Dave Beatty.
Notice that he puts the location as dining table. That's what you want to do. You don't want to put your town or whatever. You want to put where you actually doing your work, because when you database these things, that's what will come up. Do I do my best work at the dining table, or do I do it at, sitting out in the yard, or do I do it at my desk at work, or whatever? So that's exactly the way you want to log in your location.
See, he's got a preview of coming attractions here: indistinct, daytime, and outdoors. Let's see how long his session is. Oh, only 10 pages, I think. So for him, that's pretty good. You want to just go to the summary?
Well, no, I wanted to make the point that
go ahead.
The target is somewhat indistinct as far as location. It is daytime and it is outdoors. The fact that you set it aside, what's this, lyrics I was writing?
What?
His set aside. I can't read that word. Anyway.
It looks just like lyrics I was writing, whether or not that's what it looks like.
Yeah. But anyway, the fact that you get it as a POCA, or as Ingo calls it, advanced visual, doesn't mean it's wrong, but it also doesn't mean it's right. It just means you're getting it out of structure, so you set it aside and see if the test of the structure will actually confirm it later on in your session. So it's like a stray cat or an AOL. It doesn't mean it's wrong, and it doesn't mean it's right. It just means it's a stray cat or an AOL.
Also, I was going to ask you, I've not had a chance to look at his session. He said he retasked himself. I was wondering, by the time we get down to the end here, wondered how he came up with retasking himself versus taking a break versus a move command, or...
Well, when you take a break and then you come back to the session.
Right. So
to retask yourself isn't hard. After you've done your session, written your summary and all that, let's say you're looking over your summary and you say, I could have gotten more information about that. Fine, retask yourself to do another session about the one point that you want to get more information on.
I see. I just never thought of it in that way, I guess. Gotcha. Well, it's red-brown painted. Seam welded to tubular. Flat surface attached. Seams welded to tubular. Cool.
I like the thing he had somewhere back there of muffled voices, and right below it, talking about the target.
Ooh, cool. I miss a lot of that as I'm scrolling down through here and run the buttons and all that stuff. Mentally knock on the, he's got the stuff off to the right. Mentally knock on the red brown. Sounds like sheet metal, thin, oil drum, wall-like.
Yeah, notice that he's just recording his action cues. That's fantastic.
Off to the right.
Fantastic thing to do. He didn't call him stray cat. He didn't call him anything else. Structure-wise, he could have put those in parentheses to make a note that they are a cue.
Yeah.
But otherwise, he's recording the cues that he gives to himself, and that's fantastic because it makes a record of what's going on in the session. Oh, this is Debbie's. This is Debbie's. She.
This is Dave Beatty.
Oh, he. Okay.
He's usually a pretty thorough structure person. That's why I'm going down through this to see where he's going, because you just never know. Nope, took a little coffee break there, he said. I'm not allowed to use the roller ball on my mouse today. It's way touchy. And he's got sidereal time. Stray cat. Notice a heavy truck slowing on the street. Bass sounds.
That pretty well describes the target, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say, that's an interesting little stray cat right there.
And this is exactly what I mean. Just because it's a stray cat doesn't mean it's wrong. It also doesn't mean it's right. It just means that he said motion, and then he got this stray cat. Now, if he had done this in phase 4, this would have been, you know, an excellent thing to do a P5 on.
I notice we've got vehicle like, and then stray cat's a car show. Then we get, he's got a sketch. He's trying to draw it. And windshieldy frame like in yellow beige. Here's an AI. Feels like parking lot. Things are lined up left to right, up close. I'm outdoors, so what's going on? Here's P4. I'm just kind of glancing over this. He's got Michael Jackson's Killer stuck in his head.
He's got is that Luft balloons?
Sunflower head after the seeds fall out.
Where? Oh, okay. Keep going straight down after the next thing.
Honeycomb. Oh, darn it. Where'd that go? Honeycomb
He's got
white.
purpose. Then he's got more MJ, whatever that is.
Michael Jackson's Killer. He straight catted that one up top.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, he's got that stuck in his head.
But then notice down here, Luft balloons, which is, in quotes, it's a P7. It's a phase 7. Luft is...
Oh, here we go.
Luft is the German word for air. So he is picking up German words in here.
This is cool. Honeycomb-like, but dark brown. I know the summary is the thing, but I find it so fascinating to go down through these.
Oh yeah, and as an analyst always would, yeah.
All right, so he's ending this session. There's his summary. Eyeglasses like wire frame. Okay. Likes to stick color in his sketches too. There we go. Conjoined like a dead sunflower without seeds. I'm trying to figure out, I wonder if that's the tires piece. That doesn't really, those are in a vertical or horizontal line.
Oil drum wall-like.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
I've had it a couple times.
Yeah. Well, take a look at the tires. In appearance, they could be like that. Yeah. But that's under sheet metal sounds, and so that would not be the tires.
Well, my dad was a truck driver, you know, so I know that they have the big where they hold their fuel, but I don't know what it would sound like. How would you winch that house up on there? You have to use your imagination a little bit, not to waffle, but just to imagine what's going on there. So how do you winch? And I saw a house being moved once, but I didn't see it loaded when I was a kid. So how do you winch that up on there?
What they do is they take jacks and jack it up evenly all around, and then they put those big steel girders under it, and then they pick the thing up by the steel girders.
Well, that'd be a process. Sound of metal, the folding metal doors closing seems unstable. When pushed, it will tumble over with sounds like a trash can.
You were very muffled on that. What did you say?
Sorry. Seems unstable when pushed over, so it will tumble over with sounds like a trash can.
Seems unstable when pushed. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see here. Here's his session where he retasked himself. And he's setting aside a preview of coming attractions of a balloon fest. And here is set aside, it says Balloon Fest. I didn't pay enough attention to see if that came back and haunted him in some way. Let's see, this is another 8-page session.
This is David again?
He retasked himself.
Okay,
I didn't see anything. Actually, I didn't see any front loading. So, just to see if he made a note about what he's exploring.
What intrigued me about Luftballon is that we call it a hot air balloon, as opposed to a gas balloon, which is, you know, a helium balloon, which is what most of the balloon fests use in Germany. They tend to use helium balloons rather than hot air.
Please forgive me, I'm drinking water out of a bottle here. I didn't even have a chance to get a glass, so I look more couth on camera. Well, please forgive me, family. Seems like we're all family. He's having recurring stray cats of all I need is a miracle. Miracle in church, do you think? I'm not trying to waffle, I'm just looking for associations.
I think that's borderline waffle.
All right. Down here we've got perceptions of red, beige, and alternating. Oh, look at this color sketch we got going here. those girders on that truck were red, or the frame. Test procedure for a coffee maker. Okay. Wurlitzer.
Wurlitzer.
Uh-huh. Mentally go to the person who can best explain what is going on. I'll come back here.
On Wurlitzer?
Yeah. Ask them to tell a child what is happening. Describe what is said.
Yeah.
And now we're back to all I need is a miracle again. Maybe moving that thing, maybe, that would be need a miracle to get that done. I'm just commenting. I'm not,
Here again, he's recording his cues, and that's good.
Mm-hmm.
On Wurlitzer,
mm-hmm.
that would probably have been a very good candidate for the third type of stage 5, or phase 5.
You want to address that?
Good, yeah.
Go ahead.
Would you bring it back up? Because I want to see what's right in front of it.
There we go, Stray Cat Wurlitzer.
Okay, Chromie, accent, small. I think you can probably be pretty assured that any organ in this church was handmade and was not made by Wurlitzer. But, because of the age. But, okay, he got Chromie, accent, small, and immediately got, see that open space between small and Wurlitzer?
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that about 100 different impressions came in during that time. They came in so fast that he just sort of scooped them up, threw them into a box, and labeled it. And what did he label it? He labeled it an organ. Okay? And so the second type of phase 5 would go back and get everything that was perceived, or hopefully everything that was perceived, between the word small and the word Wurlitzer. And, basically it would open the box, take things out, and record them. So, but, Chromie, accent, and small, that describes billions of things. And the question is, why did he pick out the name of an organ, a pipe organ type thing, just off of those 3 descriptors? Well, because some other information came in between small and the moment he labeled the box. So this is a very good place for the second type of phase 5 tool to break out what happened in between those 2 words.
Notice he's sketched and labeled. Without waffling, you have to picture like a pipe on an organ and what it would look like. Not saying it is.
Yeah, that's a possibility, though.
Okay, so now we're trying to ask somebody what's going on here and what's important, and mentally look around, describe someone there. By the way, he got no perception.
Oh, yeah. Very good that it was written down, yeah.
Mentally, it's kind of odd, though. Mentally go, there were a lot of people there. Mentally go to the person who can best explain what is going on. Ask them to tell a child what is happening. Describe what is said.
Yeah, that's
You
a
got
key.
that. All I need is a miracle and no perception.
Yeah. But then mentally look around and describe someone at the target. Okay, someone there. Okay, and he did that.
Yep. Ask the man what is going on and describe. He is not giving up. He wants somebody to tell him what's going on. No response. Touch the man and describe. Seems human enough. Okay. Even if you would have heard it in German, not been able to understand or whatever. I wonder. Tent-like, power pole-like. Grounds area, man sees this, mentally listen and describe, nothing going on. Mentally rise above the site to an appropriate distance, look around and describe. And he is working this from all angles.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, we have tent-like, power pole-like, herbaceous area, grounds area, gray. Curving structure supported by steel grid. All right. Did I do it again? There's another one. Steel grid lights, okay. Sorry. And then 6.
Sounds like wheel striking.
Striking truck joints, repetitive.
Sure, repetitive.
Sounds like steel bearing and wheels churning.
Okay. Stray cat, roller skate, skateboard, and so on.
Uh-huh. Multiple wheel kind of things on roller skates and skateboards. Just noticing. Almost done. Summary. Sounds tuneful and resonant. He was getting that. It would have been nice if he'd have written at whatever he retasked himself on, what he was intending to investigate.
He may have just been fishing to see what he could find.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it looked like a good session.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good information. And good practice tasking yourself, too.
Yep. And then our last session is Debbie Height. Let's see how many pages she's got. Oop, big one. Let's just go right to her summary.
Good.
It might be a 2-page summary to back this up. Uh-huh.
There you go. Go to 25.
Unless she started early.
Summary is on page 25.
Okay.
Land, biologicals, man-made, and space. Sounds good there.
Now, 2 weeks ago, she had confused her summary with her scoring session. So I haven't had a chance to look at this. She's working on an outline summary Oh, she's still mixing in colors and smells. I don't think, unless she's moving, hang on, what have we got here?
What do you mean she's mixing in colors
No,
and
she
smells?
might. I'm just trying to figure out if she's doing an outline summary, if she split off into her perceptions again for her scoring. But I don't think she did. I think she's...
Well, ideally you would do both on the same page. But
right, but last time she didn't. Okay.
okay, the land is cracked with
Right,
colors of greenish, shadowy, and so on.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and the lightish part smells dry and smoky in the air.
Right. So I think she's got it this time compared to last week.
Okay, yeah.
Good, she's getting there. We need to coach her a little more.
Yeah, she's getting good groupings here. Man-made is our representative and symbolic. It's pretty good when you're talking about a church.
Yeah.
Established.
Yeah.
Stonish and established. I've been kind of surprised that nobody's gotten any historic perceptions in this that I've seen so far. Towering, elevated, movement is flow, directional, you're right.
Something's related to gravity. Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Systematic. Okay, systematically designed, right. Process. Weighted, tilted, earthy, natural. And something small.
Buttery smell. She's got a nose.
Buttery smell. Oh.
She's always smelling something.
Okay. And as an analyst working with her, this is something that you need to know and actually document as well.
Yeah, she's one that if, like I said, if it's polluted or something smells bad, she'll actually be coughing, physically coughing, and be writing, she'll report it, that it's making her feel or do this or whatever. So
basically, if we have an operational target that needs someone to identify a smell, we know who to go to.
Okay, well, that would be the last session. And it's 10:30. I was trying to not rush, but keep an eye on the clock. Lynn, do you want to address, these came from your site, and I must not have saved, I told everybody to go to the terminology in crviewer.com, and I ran through these just a little bit, pointing out some of the differences, but if you want to interject anything, please feel free, go ahead.
I'm not sure what all you said. Basically, therefore.
Well, I just interjected briefly that, that research is always blind. Nobody knows anything. And then in the training mode, which none of us usually get to work with a monitor, but they do invade the space of the viewer and they actually kind of touch and steer a little bit. And then you get into the famous practice mode, which is where most of us live.
And if you do have a monitor in practice mode, they're not allowed to touch your session.
Right, and that's the difference between training and practice. One of the differences.
Yeah, and that goes for operations
that,
too.
There is no steering, no cueing. You have to sit there, and when your session dries up, and they can cue you and give you move commands. Then there's no steering, and eventually they're blind as well, double blind.
Over a period of time, yeah.
Yeah. And then I talked just a little bit about operations, and delayed is sometimes no feedback, and that's what you're striving to become proficient and working toward. I talked about standardized reporting mechanisms and what a benefit that is for the analyst and the project manager. The benefit of working in teams. So anything, feel free, anything you want to throw in there.
Well, in operations mode, quite often the monitor knows what the target is, but the monitor has to be well trained enough to not lead the viewer ever, and the monitor has to know that even though he knows what the target is, he doesn't know what the unknown is. He doesn't know the information about it, or else you wouldn't have an operational session. And so the monitor in an operational session, in operations mode, may or may not know what the overall target is. But they're almost always told what the goal of the session is. So this is where you get, this is a very complex target. What we want you to have the viewer do is describe the specific activity that's going on there, okay? And so they will know what the goal of the session is. They may or may not know what the overall target is, but they never know what the unknown is, what the information is, simply because if they knew it, you wouldn't need a session. So, yeah, there are lots of different differences between all of these different modes, the way they're conducted and so on. In training mode, I don't know of anybody else who does this, but when we train a viewer, we also train them to monitor. For instance, we'll have one student act as the monitor while the other views, and we teach the one student, at the end of phase 1, you are only allowed to say, there may be other gestalts at the target, would you like to take the coordinates again? And then, if the viewer says yes, repeat phase 1. If the viewer says no, go on into phase 2. That way, and then the two switch roles so that both of them learn both the monitoring and the viewing. That way, when they get home, they may say, I don't have a monitor, but in fact, they actually do. They finish phase 1, and they can say to themselves, there may be other gestalts at the site. Would I like to take the coordinates again? Yeah, I think I would. And so repeat, or no, I want to go on, and so going into phase 2. And all of the monitoring that you get when you leave our basic course, all of the monitoring training that you get to monitor others, you can apply to your own session. This is why I say, Dave can very easily retask himself and do so neutrally by going for the unknown. I'll shut up now.
No, I'm the one that's like any little pearls you want to throw out there. All right. But that pretty much wraps it up. Does anybody have any general questions we'd like to go over real quick? Oops. Proby's here, and we have some questions. Sorry, she doesn't have mic. Proby, you have a mic. Here we go. You've got, would the elliptical shape of land in his summary be how the land looks from where he is positioned in viewing the target, or is the land truly elliptical in shape? That's her first question.
It could be both.
And
But,
her next question.
okay,
Go ahead.
let's say it's not both.
Uh-huh.
It would be how it looks from where he is. This is one thing you realize about remote viewing, is that the impressions you get are always from the viewpoint of the viewer.
And did Luft balloons become an AOL or SC to retask on?
Well, no, actually it was a phase 7. Notice how I put it in quotes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a phase 7. As such, it could be cued with, but since it was in phase 2, the more proper thing would be for him to say, at its most basic gut level meaning, what does a Luft balloon symbolize to me? Because it's a symbolic phase 7.
Mm-hmm.
And so what does a hot air balloon symbolize to me? Well, it symbolizes big and pretty and something to look at, and, you know, and all of these descriptors that it symbolizes would be exactly applicable to this target, whereas the word hot air balloon would not.
And she likes his retasking summary: wheel striking, track joints, steel bearings turning, probably the sounds of the machinery transporting the church, and bilocating during the session. We have Miss Bilocator here with us. So anyway, Proby, anytime you want to jump in and speak, feel free. Maybe she fell asleep. And somebody's...
That's my phone.
Oh, not mine. Okay.
It never stops.
Oh, you don't, Proby, for me, you don't need to do anything in this environment. If you need to do something to get your own mic to work, I'm sorry. But this isn't like being in some of the places where we've been. You don't have to push any buttons or anything. So it must just be her mic that's giving her trouble.
However, Proby's note about I've been posting comments in the wrong chat mode.
Mm-hmm.
If you got the chat thing open and you look down and it says send to.
Right. No, she's been
sending to host. She's been sending to host only, and if you click that thing, it will let you say attend to all attendees, or to presenter, or to whoever, all participants.
Got it now, because she's posting to all participants now. She was just posting to me.
That's good.
Yeah. So anyway, her mic is giving her fits on her end, evidently. So, but Proby is quite adept at bilocating. So viewing a target has the potential of evoking memories that resonate with it. She has a question.
Oh, you bet. That's where Stray Cat comes from. Stray Cat is the subliminal transfer of recollections, anxieties, and yearnings, which always come from your past experience, to consciously accessible thought. That's what Stray Cat means.
And she's asking about Deborah Katz's session. Is that only with her ERV sessions or her CRV with not getting enough info? She was experimenting with ERV. She normally does CRV and turns in pages and pages. And, oh, there's a YouTube link. You can actually watch it, evidently. And could these stray cats be part of feedback that is not necessarily from the info provided? For example, a cornfield near the site.
And the answer is absolutely yes. Once a viewer goes to the site, you have to deal with attractors and distractors, and you may tell them the target is the activity going on, and if they will look at the target of the week and look at the front loading, they will see your job in this session is an activity with a man-made. But if they don't look at the front loading, then they don't know what to focus on, and they go to the site and they're going to look around, they're going to see the cornfields, they're going to see, you know, the Volkswagens going back and forth and everything else, and the people and everything else. So the front loading really does help in that way. But once you get to a site, I mean, the entire site is there and it's open for you. So here again, you're going to get descriptors according to what the viewer is viewing. Is all this part of the target? Oh, this must, okay, church removal, there you go. Some woman very upset about them taking her church, I guess. Are we supposed to be getting sound with this? Is our sound on? Is our sound on, Teresa?
Okay, I don't see any other videos that I want to, videos that are definitely of this target that I want to include with this video, so. Well, thank you, Proby. That was fun. Oh, the very tall thing from the truck mistook for a long steeple? No, there was a steeple on top of the church. Anyway, thanks, Proby, for the link to that. That was pretty fun. Okay, well, unless anybody has any, welcome, Michelle. I know you got in a little late. Glad you could make it. And Janine, I know you said on the Stargate list that you kind of surprised yourself. Anything you'd like to say? I know you said you surprised yourself and you promptly signed up for like 3 more targets. Nothing like putting you on the spot. I don't mean to, but hope I don't think she has a mic at her house. So anyway, if anybody else has anything to say, it's 10:48 and we probably need to be finishing up for the night. Okay. Janine has a mic. You want to talk? You can talk. When I take your host, when I take your mute away, it your little mic button goes away. Anyway. Okay, well, if that's everybody, all right, we're going to go ahead and call it a night. We have another target scheduled in 2 weeks. Anybody who wants front loading, go ahead and email me and I'll send it to you. I did put up a couple of targets that will be a surprise for Lynn if he wants to work them because they're not from his target pool.
So I get a chance.
And it's just for a little fun, keep your hand in as if. And anybody who wants front loading, like I said, email me. And the last target that I have up and on the calendar actually has a retasking opportunity if anybody wants to practice that. So, all right, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Just watch the list for updates. And thanks for coming.
Thanks for having it.
You're welcome. Actually, I need to shut the recording off. Would be good. Is Michelle still here? Nope, she's gone already.